All right, so we're all hearing about these incredible, world-changing AI models, right? But here's the dirty little secret. They are absolutely massive. I mean, huge. So the big question is, how in the world do we get all that amazing power out of some giant data center and, onto the phones and laptops we actually use every day?
And I'm not exaggerating when I say huge. We're talking about models for stuff like image recognition or real-time translation. These things can easily take up hundreds of gigabytes of space. That's a complete non-starter for anyone trying to get this amazing tech into your hands on your device.
So that's the big puzzle we're going to unpack today. How do you take these enormous digital brains and shrink them down? How do we make them small enough to run on our own devices without, making them dumb in the process? Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at AI's massive footprint. Then, we'll talk about the magic shrink ray, quantization. We'll get into the accuracy versus efficiency dilemma, compare post-training versus aware training, see how it all works in the wild, and finally, wrap up with why the future of AI has to be efficient. All right, first things first. Let's really dig into the problem of scale with these AI models. It's kind of funny. Their massive size is what makes them so powerful, but it's also their Achilles heel. You see, it's not just about finding enough gigabytes to store them. That's just the start. Think about the sheer computational muscle they need. We're talking massive energy consumption and slow, laggy response times. It's why you can't just download the latest and greatest AI onto your phone. This size problem is a huge barrier, limiting who can actually use this stuff. So what's the solution? Well, it's a pretty brilliant idea, actually. It's like a shrink ray for AI, and it's called quantization. So what exactly is quantization? At its heart, it's all about reducing precision. I love this analogy. Think about a super high-res professional photo. It looks amazing, but the file size is huge. Now think about a JPEG you'd post online. It's much smaller, right? That's kind of what we're doing here. An AI's brain is made up of these super precise numbers called weights and activations. Quantization takes those complex numbers and simplifies them into much smaller, more basic ones. The goal is to keep the essential picture while drastically shrinking the file size. And the payoff for doing this is just massive. I mean, first off, the model gets way, way smaller. That's a huge win. But it doesn't stop there. It also gets faster, a lot faster. See, computer chips are just built to handle simple numbers quicker than complex ones. So your AI can think faster. And the third win, it uses less energy. Smaller, faster, and more energy efficient. It's basically a trifecta for practicality. Okay, this sounds too good to be true, right? Well, you're not wrong. There's always a catch, and in this case, it's a big one. You can't just simplify everything and expect it to work perfectly. Like they say, there's no free lunch. And this right here, this graph shows you exactly what can go wrong. Look at the chart on the left. That's a healthy learning model. See the error rate going down, down, down? That's what you want. Now, look at the right. That's what happens when you just carelessly shrink it. That crazy line shooting up to the sky, that's the error rate. The model has just completely lost its mind. It's not just not learning, it's actively getting dumber. It's a total disaster. This isn't some new discovery, by the way. Researchers have been banging their heads against this problem for a while now. They know that if you get too aggressive with the shrinking, you just break the model. So that sets up the real challenge, doesn't it? How do we get all those amazing efficiency wins without turning our brilliant AI into a bumbling idiot? Well, to solve that puzzle, the field has basically split into two main camps, two different approaches. We've got post-training quantization, let's call it PTQ, and quantization-aware training, or QAT. Think of it this way. PTQ, on the left, is like taking a finished painting and then trying to shrink it down. It's fast, it's easy, you just do it. But you might lose some important details in the process. Now, QAT, on the right, is like telling the artist from the very first brushstroke, hey, just so you know, this masterpiece is going to end up as a tiny thumbnail. The artist can then paint in a way that ensures the most important parts are still clear, even when it's small. It's way more work up front, but the final tiny version is going to look a whole lot better. And people are getting really, really smart about this stuff. Take a technique in the PTQ camp called AWQ. It's basically a super intelligent editor for the AI's brain. It goes in, finds the absolute most critical, can't live without it pieces of information, the salient weights, and puts a little do not touch sign on them. Then it goes to town shrinking everything else. It's a much more surgical approach. Then you've got these incredible QAT methods like PACT. This one is really cool.
It actually lets the model figure out for itself how to communicate in a way that will survive the shrinking process. It's like the AI is learning to speak in simpler, clearer sentences because it knows it's going to be summarized later. It literally becomes aware of its destiny and prepares for it. It's pretty wild.
Okay, so that's all the theory. But theory's one thing, right? How does this stuff actually stack up in the real world on models we're all using? Let's check out the numbers.
All right, what we've got here is a showdown between different PTQ methods on the Llama 3.1 model. These numbers are just performance scores. Bigger is better. And what's kind of surprising if you look close is that the simple, straightforward 8-bit and 4-bit versions, they're actually holding their own against the fancier AWQ method. It kind of goes to show that sometimes the fast and easy approach is, well, good enough. But this is where QLAT flexes its muscles. Check this out. The model size is the same, the speed is basically the same, but look at the perplexity score. Now, lower is better here. It basically means the model is less confused. The QAT version is way less confused. That extra work during training, it paid off big time, clawing back a ton of the accuracy that PTQ just left on the table. And this chart really brings it home. This isn't just about abstract scores. This is about how fast things run on actual hardware. That blue line soaring up into the right, that's our smart packed model. It's getting faster and more efficient. That orange line, that's the brute force way, just trying to make the model bigger to get accuracy back. It's pretty clear which approach is winning. It's not about being bigger, it's about being smarter.
Okay, so let's pull back and look at the big picture. Why is all this painstaking work to shrink AI models so incredibly important?
So here are the key things to remember. 1, AI models are born huge, and quantization is what makes them usable in the real world. 2, it's this constant balancing act between making them small and fast versus keeping them smart. 3, you've got your 2 main flavors, PTQ for a quick and dirty shrink, and QAT for a more careful, accuracy-focused approach. And finally, the really exciting part is that new tricks like AWQ and PACT are making it so we have to compromise less and less.
And that really leaves us with a huge question for the future, doesn't it? As AI starts to weave its way into literally everything, our phones, our cars, you name it, could it be that this seemingly nerdy technique, quantization, is actually the most important key we have to unlocking AI for everyone, to making sure all this power doesn't just stay locked up in some remote data center, but actually gets into the hands of people everywhere?